Good morning, good morning, good morning all. A bit late start today, although close enough, you know. I always said 8 o'clock is sort of a rough time, you know, of when we'll kick everything off. But no, I was very, very tempted today to go even earlier than 8 o'clock, purely for the fact because of the heat. Like I say, I think I've mentioned this before. I do this walk very, very regular on sort of every day, sort of my, very nice daily exercise routine. Don't know if you can see him galloping over to see us. Oh, Cathonic, good morning to you. Good morning, Dave, as well. Oh no, he stopped. Oh, I thought he was going to gallop over to come and see us, but never mind. Never mind. Oh, Prinny Bird, good morning to you. Nicole, good morning to you. Nico, good morning to you. So yeah, and last night was, as I'm sure you can appreciate, sleeping in this type of hot weather is always sort of annoying. So yeah, depending on how this heat wave goes, we might have some even earlier starts, because I'll tell you what, I've done this walk this week, and oh boy, I've just gotten back home. I've just gone, well, I need another shower. And of course, we're entering into, as I'm sure maybe you may or not know, we're into a drought. So that's going to be fun. So yeah. So that's how sort of the situation and sort of the land lies at the moment. There we go. Oh, hello. Oh, morning.
Morning.
Whoop.
Jessie. Jessie here.
So there we go. So yes, welcome, and always. Good morning from. Oh, we just had a greetings from Thailand. Kroban, yes. Good morning to you. kind of jealous, Cathonic there. The fact that you've just had a bit of a rainfall. Have we missed anyone out in our greetings so far this morning? Don't think we have. Truss is going to be a shambles, yeah, major shambles. Yeah, very, very true. But before we get into talking about Truss, because honestly, it's going to get really, really depressing very, very quickly. I want to talk about one very quick thing. This, I'm sure, as most of you have heard, this week, Donald Trump got raided this week by the FBI. So yeah, so that's turned out to be quite a big thing. And to begin with, for those of you who sort of, I've briefly tried to keep up with like what's been going on with Trump, because I know that certainly when he entered the White House, there were a lot of actual legal cases that were essentially following Trump, and now they all seem to have been converging onto him all at once. And of course, added onto that, you've got the January the 6th committee. There's one where he's like he's being charged for like something like threatening the state's like electoral person in charge of that for what he did in there. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff. Nope. Ta-da! Baby phony. So yeah, it's crazy the amount of lawsuits that like are actually after him. I think there must be at least, as far as I'm aware, there's a good at least 7 or 8 that I think that he's actively currently involved in. And he was obviously he's sort of what has been dubbed the Winter White House. I can't believe he actually called it that. His sort of golf course residence he had down in Mar-a-Lago. Oh, Loki, good morning to you. So this whole residence he had in down in Florida, where his golf course was, he used it as like a winter White House. And because Trump was so convinced he was going to win, and also so convinced he was going to, get the election results overturned, he didn't do any packing. So when he was basically at that point forced out of the White House, he took a load of documents with him that he shouldn't have. And the big question everyone knew and has known for quite a while, you cannot trust Trump with any secretive information. That was made very plain and very clear, almost within like the first year of his presidency. And people and generals stopped trusting him, telling him secret information unless they absolutely had to tell him. So this is turning out to be actually quite big, purely for the fact that initially we didn't know what the warrant was for, what they were looking for. But as this story has progressed, and slowly more stuff has come out about about what the FBI were actually looking for. Turns out they were looking for documents relating to America's nuclear armament. And other top secret material that Trump had basically just decided to take from the White House. You can't really go do that. So ultimately, what has really happened, either through sheer incompetence or maybe even sheer stupidity. Got some cows in the background hiding under the tree getting some shade. Can't blame them. Can't blame them at all. Yeah, I can't even see my screen at the moment. I can't even see if any of you are commenting. There we go. So through his own either sheer incompetence or just sheer stupidity, he did this. And apparently this is going to also lead to some form of charges as well, as far as we are at least are aware of that. Oh, hang on. Cavaland, good morning to you. Pretty Birdie, it looks like some of the documents were top secret materials that's supposed to be only opened in highly secure rooms. Yeah, exactly. I think what we are hearing at the moment is probably just going to be like the tip of the iceberg from what we're hearing about this. Because one of the reasons why, or at least initially, the Republicans were so outraged at this, was how dare you do this raid and not tell the person that you were coming, or at least tell other departments what you were doing. And this is apparently because one of the other things that was a very big hallmark of Trump's White House, which again, only just starting to really find out to the extent to which Trump did this. Trump burned sort of memos, documents in like the fireplaces of the White House. There's also reports of like staffers going to the toilet, or Trump saying the toilet's been clogged and finding out that he's like flushed documents in like order to like just try and destroy them. And you're like, what? So yeah, and I'm still very convinced that the true definitive like story of what went on in the Trump White House is still to be told. I really am convinced at this, because honestly, the more and more we find out, the worse and worse it becomes. So yeah, something I'll be keeping an eye on, certainly. As many of you may remember, certainly during the when Trump was in charge, we always used to have our regular sort of brief American update, like, what's Trump done this week? So, sort of take you back in time to when we first started the Good Morning Walk. Oh, there we go. Back in some shade. Pretty Bird, Beau of the Fifth Column had a great video about this. I'll have a look after that. Loki, I just hope the same happens to Johnson, the KGB agent. Maybe not. I don't know. He's probably not been, The thing is, Johnson is an idiot, but he does it on purpose, which makes him, in a way, a lot more secretive and more worse than Trump in many, many different ways. So, yeah. As a political junkie, I started following British politics as a form of escapism. I like that. Americans started following British politics because of its pure escapism. You know what, Jay? I might have to use that as a quote. I might have to. Can I quote you on that? I'm gonna have to start using that as part of like my marketing material for my channel, because that's a fantastic quote. That's amazing. I'm gonna have to remember that. Oh, Fox, good morning to you. Nicole, best sitcom ever. Jay, go for it. Don't worry, thank you. I'm gonna have to, because that's a fantastic quote. See if I've missed. Yeah, Trump was in. Yeah, that's the other thing, Pretty Bird. Trump was in New York because he was already giving a deposition to another legal battle he's currently fighting in New York, and I think that is to do with like all these property companies and things like that. So yeah, like I say, I wasn't joking when at this moment in time Trump is like fighting multiple legal battles at the moment. I really am not joking. He's fighting a ton of different legal battles at the moment. Sonic, The Lion, the Witch, the Wardrobe, and the Russian Agent. Use Trump's bogus assets reporting for tax purposes. Yeah. I think that's what it is in especially the New York one. It's mainly about his company and sort of like his sort of reporting. But like I say, some of these, of course, they're currently being fought, were already being fought or at least being done before Trump entered the White House. And there was a big, as you already may know, there's a lot of people suspecting Trump might run again just to try and escape some of these criminal well, they are these investigations that are going on into him at the moment. So that's why a lot of people are thinking, oh, he's going to run again, because the second you start running again, all these investigations, they can continue, but they can't really go after him. So they almost get put on pause. So that's what a lot of people are seriously thinking. Oh, Conservator, good morning to you. Yeah, more heat on Monday. Don't let him flee the country. Yeah. Yeah, as a sitting president, you can't be prosecuted. Yeah, that's the insane thing. There were so many, like I say, there were lawsuits that followed Trump into the White House, and there have more come out since that are now following him. Crazy. But there's a lot of people from at least sort of the Americans that have been following on this. A lot of people have been saying that if like the Republicans or like the Trumpian candidates do really well, that's going to cause Trump to put his name forward to run again. Which, just like Boris Johnson, Trump still holds a lot of sway in the in the Republican Party. He could very well be run again. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Trump has been planning to run and been found fundraising for the run. Yeah. In fact, that's what a lot of this other stuff has come out as well. He's been sending out funding emails, hinting very, very, to use the Trump word, bigly, very, very bigly, that he's going to sort of run again. Putin wants him to run and stay in the USA, so Trump will cause more chaos that way. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really bear thinking about, but what if Trump had stayed in the White House, and what would have happened to, Ukraine? Given that would have been, that doesn't even bear thinking about, to be honest. And even then, if Trump should run and win again, it does raise other big questions, because at that point it's going to be sort of maybe even Europe having to supply sort of Ukraine essentially on their own at that point. So yeah, and I know we haven't talked about Ukraine in quite some time, but to be honest, it's as usual. It's a difficult, really, situation to comment, and it's a constantly evolving situation. So it's very, very much that when a story happens in sort of Ukraine, it can almost be old by the time you've reported it, because of just of like the flowing nature of it. So I am keeping my eye on the conflict, don't worry. But it's just one of those things of reporting on the conflict is very, very difficult, just due to the nature of it. So don't worry, I haven't sort of given up talking about sort of Ukraine or anything like that. I am very, very much keeping an eye on what's going on over there. But anyway, yes, on to Truss, because oh my god. So if you saw my video that came out yesterday evening, you know the type of advisors that Truss is gathering around her. Even more worryingly, of course, is that Patrick Minford is very, very much back on the scene. which does raise quite a lot of worrying questions about this. But before we get on to talking just how bad Liz Truss is going to be, we really have to talk about why did the Brexiteers jump from essentially the Boris train to now being completely on the Truss train. Oh, and it's also worth pointing out because it is quite a big thing, but I'm just wondering how many more are going to do it. We've had our first proper defection. Robert Buckland, I believe is it Robert Buckland? Oh, I can't remember now, but one of Sunak's big supporters, going right back to the start of his campaign, has now jumped from Sunak to supporting Truss. You know, as we said would probably happen. A lot of these MPs want to back the winner. But anyway, back to where we were. So we've got to answer this question first. Why did all these Brexiteers sort of jump ship from Boris over to Truss? Well, it all has to do with Brexit. It really does. A lot of them, when you look at what happened when the Brexit result came in and they had won by 2%, recognise the fact that Brexit to them represented a massive opportunity to essentially go forward and fulfill a lot of crazy right-wing libertarian fantasies that they've had on the back burner for years. Oh, morning. So, and we've seen this, by the way. We looked at Frost's essay called "Holy Illusions." Like I say, we did 2 live streams, pretty much dedicated to sort of covering that. And they are very well aware. They are very well aware that they have managed to achieve in their wildest dreams what they never thought they could. This is why in 2016 you saw all these Brexiteers who said, oh no, we can have a second confirmatory referendum, because they never thought they would win the first one. So that's why they pushed so hard to trigger Article 50, and then pushed constantly against Theresa May, against any moderates, got turfed out of the party by Johnson in 2019, and essentially pursued the hardest physical form of Brexit they possibly could. And bear in mind, they have already achieved so much with the current Brexit situation, but even then, it's not enough. I think a lot of us who have covered, a lot of us who've covered Brexit, we all come to the same conclusion. No matter what Brexit gets brought to, the people, no matter what, it's never enough for the Brexiteers. Because just as Frost said in his essay, there needs to be this almost permanent, Brexit revolution against sort of the establishment. And really what they are generally talking about is what they want is they want to introduce their good old classicist, full-on Austrian economics, free market fundamentalist ideas in which they would never, ever be able to win on those ideas in a proper general election. They would never be able to win on those ideas. The public is just not in favour of those ideas. But then you've got think tanks like, the Taxpayers Alliance, which is, again, a dark money think tank that masquerades as being a group of people, or at least an alliance of British taxpayers, even though if you are a British taxpayer, you're not allowed to join it. And of course, it's one of the many, shall we say, dark money groups certainly involved in the whole Tufton Street Mafia situation. So there are, this is really what they want. And I've often gone back and looked at, historical examples of revolutions, revolutions that took place, because it's very, very similar to a lot of revolutions you see, even sort of, we call it sort of the English Civil War, but really it was sort of was a revolution, sort of against, at the moment, the powers that be. And just as you see with a lot of revolution, yeah, FBI, can we have the codes back, please? Oh, if that comes out, oh my word, could you imagine if that happened? Sorry, I'm getting off track, but could you imagine if that happened? If Trump actually had in those documents the codes for like the nuclear weapons? Biden, yeah, sorry, I just need to phone Trump and get the codes back from Mar-a-Lago. Oh my word. But yeah, anyway, back to it. Yeah, sorry, you've properly distracted me with that comment there. So yeah, any other like historical revolution, always. Now, some revolutions don't end up going this way. Very often, some don't. But a lot of revolutions go, in many cases, far, far further and far more deep reaching than even any of its original instigators even intended the revolution to do. So make no mistake, these are sort of the Brexit zealots. This is I think we're coming up to, if we were to sort of compare this to the sort of, I don't know if you can see him, there you go. If we compare this to sort of like the French Revolution, this is the moment where sort of Robespierre would take power. Bless you. This would be the moment where Robespierre takes power and is seen as to be sort of the safe hands, in a way, that the Republic needed at that moment. And of course, if you know anything about the French Revolution, Robespierre went absolutely, crazy, and started doing all sorts of kind of crazy stuff, very much in the name of, as he would say it, in all the name of, the revolution. And ultimately, just as in the, it's fascinating when you sort of compare this to other historical revolutions. In many of these cases, sooner or later, the revolution ends up eating its own children. As was the case with Robespierre. And I think we're heading to that moment now, because everyone, all these deep, true Brexiteers have switched over to wanting Truss. That Truss is the one. This is our person now. And you look at sort of her introducing the Northern Ireland Protocol bill that's going to absolutely destroy the Northern Ireland Protocol, but also will be used as an excuse, because obviously if we break the Northern Ireland Protocol, then the EU will then probably be forced to tear up the trade and cooperation agreement as well, which will then be used by the Brexiteers as an excuse to really start going after all these right-wing, ideas that have been on the shelf for years that they've never been able to fulfill. And we went over sort of the holy illusions of Brexit. And if you look at what, Frost wants for the economy, it's really easy to pick out the key features. He wants a small state, but doesn't exactly say what he wants to get rid of. If you're going to shrink the size of the state, what are you going to get rid of? What is the government going to no longer provide? You've got, oh yes, lower taxes. Well, okay, once again, what is the government going to no longer provide? Or are you going to borrow more? To cover for that, that tax decrease. None of it makes a lot of sense when you think about this, but it's exactly what they want. They're following this ideology, which tells them if they follow it so, then everything will be fine. Don't worry, guys. We're following the plan. The plan is, the plan is real. It will work. You just gotta to coin the phrase from the Bitcoin bros. We've got to hodl. We've got to hodl, gang, on our Brexit delusions, on our fantasy beliefs in the economy. And he even doubles down it even more by saying, oh yes, we've got to import and export more as well. Well, how are you going to sort of do that? That's not something you can just change overnight. And even then, as we've described, the whole trade gravity is a thing. You can't really escape that fact. So, Truss is going to come in, and I really do think she's going to fulfill all these Brexiteers' wildest dreams. And I think I think, or at least that's what they believe. And like I say, it's what many people believed. If you go back to sort of the French Revolution, it's what many people in sort of the revolutionaries certainly believed during the French Revolution that now Robespierre's in. The true revolution will now finally take place, and the promises of the revolution will finally be fulfilled. And then look what happened to Robespierre, you know? And I think this is it. This is this is the Brexiteers, like the revolutionaries, putting Robespierre in power, thinking he is the guy who's going to, solve all the problems of the revolution, fulfill, the much wanted dreams of finishing it off. But just like Robespierre, the warning signs are already there. Liz Truss's crazy ideas, all she has to do is put the right people in charge in the right places, and she's going to do a whole lot of damage. And bear in mind, coming off the back of Boris Johnson, Liz Truss is going to be so much more worse, so much more worse than Boris Johnson in so many more different ways. Especially wanting to sort of fulfill all these crazy, mad economic dreams that the Brexiteers want to fulfill. And a lot of people, even this chat, think, well, will they go for an early election? Oh, Paz, good morning to you. Will they go for an early election? Yeah, the French Revolution led to Napoleon, and then it ended in Waterloo in 1815. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the danger moment, because they're wanting to fulfill all these, economic fantasies that they have, and a lot of economists are not in favor of really what they want to do, because we've said before, none of these ideas would ever be taken up by the electorate. We know they don't want a smaller state. We know they really don't want tax cuts, and that's even see you, Cavaland. They don't even want a smaller state and smaller tax cuts. But that's what that's even like conservative voters on that. And will they go for an early election? No. I really don't think they will. Even if the polls tell them, it's all looking good, I don't think they'll be conned in the same way that they were under Theresa May, where she went for an early election with, massive polling indicating that she would sort of sweep that general election to a massive majority. There is no way at the moment they would risk the majority that they have with wanting to do the kind of, crazy lunatic stuff that they've got planned, because this is the perfect time to do it. You've got a massive majority that it doesn't matter if all the opposition stand against you, unless there's like a serious backbench rebellion, and I'm talking a serious backbench rebellion by at least 100 of your own MPs, they can't be stopped. They just can't be stopped at all. And that is, I think, what we're going to see. I think you're going to see Truss come in, and I think we will know what she intends to do when we see her cabinet. And there have been lots of, speculations about who she wants in to be like, her treasury person. There's been, names thrown around like, Theresa Coffey, but I don't think so. I think it's probably going to be more likely to be Kersey Kutang, and maybe even John Redwood, because she's going to put people who follow those, crazy lunatic right-wing ideas into power to pursue those goals. And, you look at sort of the cost of living crisis, the fact that, and the fact that Boris Johnson turned up to a meeting with energy companies who, let's face it, just went to that meeting because, well, they sort of had to. And they went into there and then went, well, what can you do, guys? And the energy companies went, well, we're doing stuff. That is unfortunate, the current state and situation. And to really actually help people during the cost of living crisis, the government actually has to get involved. Like, there is no other option for them but to get involved in this. And of course, libertarian ideology clearly states that the government should not get involved in anything like this. This is why Rishi Sunak went from sort of being this hero again in the in the right wing to being viewed as this complete villain, because he engaged in socialism. And how dare he prove to people that socialism and government intervention can work? And that is generally part of the problem. That no one, or at least seemingly, wanted to tell. Good morning, David. Good morning to you. Just see you sneaking in there. When you have those types in with the policies and all the crazy nonsense they're going to do so much more damage. And then come November, when all these crises all merge together, this Truss is either going to have to U-turn, or there will be full on disruptions. We're talking strikes, mass protests, for the fact that the Conservatives haven't helped anyone. And I think even people on the right, on the moderate side of being Conservative, which we've talked about before, are being massively turned off by all these, crazy programs and ideas and promises that they want to fulfill. That is why the Lib Dems, being sort of the very sort of centrist right party when it comes to sort of certainly economics, that's why they're hoovering up so many votes. Especially down south, and not just them, but like farmers as well, who the Conservatives have openly betrayed. It's this is unfortunately what's the situation. And I am really worried. I do often say, our channel is about sort of, based on hope and sort of, wanting to, because you can get more change done. You can with sort of hope, or rather than, giving into sort of, doomerism or saying, well, that's not going to work or anything like that. I think you get far, far more done with that than more than anything else. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of crazy stuff coming, and I really can't say what's going to happen, but it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. It's going to hurt a whole lot of people. And it's all going to kick off in November. And in a way, as much as I don't want to say it, that'll be a good thing, because it will just go to show to people just how inept and cruel, let's face it, the Conservative Party are. Oh, thank you very much, Cathology. So what's happening in November? Well, essentially at that point, that is when all the cost of living crisis is going to combine. You've got inflation is going to be causing a massive problem. We'll be in a recession at that point. It's really, really going to be a problem. And not only just that, but a whole ton of other crises are going to sort of cross with that. And everything that's sort of bad at the moment is going to go from worse to extremely bad to possibly even worse than that. And I really do think the Conservatives have no answer to any of the big problems that we're facing. And I've said this before on many a walk, but they have no idea. They have no clues. The ideas that they are putting forward, they're being physically told, well, okay, if you do that, there's going to be, these consequences. Why aren't you sort of prepared for those consequences? And it's just going to end up being a complete disaster. And the more that happens, the more they seem to sort of double down on their ideology. And certainly eventually, many of these Brexiteers, I can guarantee you in the future, will be saying, well, it's time to get rid of Liz Truss and put someone else in. And I've said it before, but we'll probably be doing this whole song and dance about a Tory leadership contest all over again. Give it 6 to 12 months and it'll happen all over again. But yeah, this is the unfortunate, sad situation of British politics. We're in an absolute goddamn mess. But here's some ponies for you. Duke Venue's worst case scenario is Tories getting in again and making everything infinitely worse. The thing is, though, I think given the crisis that is going to happen in November, and they've got 2 years before the next general election, they are not going to risk. There is no way they are going to risk getting rid of their majority, because there is no way they keep it. There's a lot of polls showing out there, and a lot of disproven choices. Oh, hang on, here comes the train. Zoom. There we go. So, a lot of the, conservative thinking was that these two by-elections that we've had, which in infinitely safe Tory seats, they should have won. Like those Tory seats, they should have won instantly, no question. But they didn't win them. They didn't win them at all. They went to the Lib Dems. You have the Wakefield by-election that happened. Again, they were saying, "Oh, this is going to be our seat again." It didn't. There's a lot of polling that shows a lot of these people in the red wall who voted for Conservatives are not very happy with the choice that they made. So they will not keep their majority at all. Ultimately, their majority will be massively, if they do manage to keep it themselves in, and their majority will be massively slashed, which, to be honest, will be a good thing, because then at least, opposition will be able to stop them at least. So that will be the good thing. But of course, they'll be in the problem. And, we really need sort of Labour either to get in with a majority or to be able to sort of go into coalition with the Lib Dems and at least start to make things, a lot better, because shockingly, Labour does have a plan. Despite how many people say they don't, they do. They don't seem to be listening to what people are even saying in the party, like Rachel Reeves, Angela Rayner, what they're saying they would do if in power. So, yeah, interesting times ahead. Interesting times ahead indeed. Morning. Morning. So, yeah, and even the Lib Dems to an extent have a plan as well. Morning. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting situation that's going to happen, and because come November, Liz Truss has a plan. Well, there's two options Liz Truss is going to do. So you can either A, continue on the current path, which is very clearly not working and is going to affect hundreds of millions of people very, very negatively, which is going to lead to strikes, mass protests, and ultimately probably a very, very, very big Tory defeat. Or she can U-turn. But the second she U-turns and she starts doing sort of government support or anything like that, her supporters, her right wing of the party, are going to turn on her. And then out she goes, and then once again, back into a Conservative leadership election. So, as always, Truss is going to be bad, but she's going to be bad in so many more worse ways than even Boris was. So, yeah, that's really the answer to today's question of how bad is Truss going to be? She's going to be bad. Very, very bad. Oh boy. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to go get indoors because, oh boy, it's starting to get warm even now. And like I say, I don't know if you can see me. Yeah. I'm sweating already. But yeah, once again, thank you so much and everyone for joining me today. It's been an absolutely cracking good morning walk this morning. Of course, depending on the heat, if this heat wave continues, which it does very much likely will, we might be starting the good morning walk maybe a bit earlier just to sort of beat the heat. But of course, as people are sort of saying in chat, please do hit that like button. before we finish the stream, and of course the share button as well. And of course, remember to leave a comment after the stream has ended as well. That helps massively with the algorithms. Even if you just say, thank you for the good morning walk, always helps massively. But of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, One Off Nation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can all buy me coffee, although I don't think coffee will help me at the moment. And of course, you can also join the Pony Club as well, where you can see we've got people in the chat with their little badges next to their name. You also get unique emojis that you can use as well. Like I say, the more people that join it, the more emojis that I unlock. And of course, the more I will get to sort of chance to commission from our artists that did sort of the current ones. Yeah, iced coffee time, definitely. And as always, thank you so much. Thank you, Chthonic, for showing off the emojis there. Thank you very much. So as always, thank you so much to the people joining me today on the Good Morning Walk. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic. Go out, enjoy your weekend. Like I say, keep safe, keep cool. And if you can't be safe, be sensible, as they say. And as always, we'll see you next weekend for the Good Morning Walk. But also we've got our normal Wednesday live stream, which is already sort of fun. One thing that we're calling it. So we'll see you then. Watch out for more videos we've got come out during this week as well. And as always, we'll see you all next time. Oh, there we go, end the stream.